Hello, everyone, and a nice warm welcome to a new episode of Data Talks. Today, my guest is Kai Hüner from CDQ. Hello, Kai. How are you?
Hi, Ben. Nice to meet you.
So I just told our guest that you're from CDQ St. Gallen, but maybe a quick intro about you and your role before we go on to our topic today.
Yes, of course. So CDQ is a small company from Switzerland, based in Switzerland in St. Gallen, and we offer services around data quality. Our focus is on business partners, so customer vendor data quality. We come from research around data quality management frameworks, KPI models, and things like this. We have established some consultant services around data governance, data architecture, and since 5 to 6 years, we are also providing cloud services. So simple APIs to cleanse addresses, to enrich text numbers, to update business partners, to compliance screening, things like this. And regarding my role, I'm responsible for this cloud business regarding software development, product management, operations, data analytics, and also to grow this business.
Wonderful, Kai. So folks, you see Kai is a true expert. And I think he also has lost his heart to data, as you can see in his back drop. So, but we thought we'd talk about a pretty new theme in the market, not only about the data quality of party data. We're really looking at a super cool topic, data sharing today. But let's go into it step by step. I have a few questions for you, Kai. And when I read your articles and publications, talking about data fitness, and why is data fitness for use? I really like to understand what that really means.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe first of all, this concept, fitness for use, is not my idea. It's coming from researchers from the US, from Boston, from the MIT. They did really amazing research around data quality or information quality in the 90s. The leader in this area is Richard Wang, and he, with his colleagues, established this concept. So not to give the credits to me for this, but I really like this idea because it reflects very well the business relevance of data. And a very simple example that I always use for this is if you have a sales campaign, for example, and you have your customer data records, and you have telephone numbers and email addresses. And then many data quality initiatives go about harmonizing and formalizing and normalizing these email addresses and thinking about if the country code is with a plus or leading zeros of the phone numbers and so on. But the relevant question is, do I want to run, let's say, an online campaign to send emails, or do I want to use a call center to call the customers, and I need phone numbers, right? And this decision has to be made first, and then I can think about, do I really need phone numbers, or can I completely leave them out, or do I more need the email addresses? And this is a very simple example that you have to think about which data is required, which data quality is required, and to derive all measures around data governance and especially data quality from these findings, because data quality is really complex, right? You have to think about who is using your data and which processes and so on. You always have to focus your measures. And so this fitness for use idea, when your data is fitness for use, fitness for purpose, for which particular use case, business process, whatever, this is really and very interesting, and from my perspective, eye-opening concept. Everyone should think about.
No, it totally makes sense, right? Fit for use, fit for purpose, for use case, whether it's campaign or analytics and so on. Good point, and I like that, right? Because it makes things easy to understand. Everyone knows what fitness is. Well, really, I'm also happy to kind of continue sharing this. So you are now really going all in on your concept of data sharing. What is the idea and also the execution behind that?
Yeah, it's funny thing is that you first ask about this fitness for use because the basic idea behind the data sharing is a little bit the opposite, right? So the world is never 0 and 1, but always in between. The main idea of data sharing comes from the experience I made as a data management consultant in several firms, where I realized that the company is really doing the same things, and not only from process perspective, but really content-wise, right? If you think about customers and vendors, and you think about a specific industry, it's clear that, let's say, 3, 4, 5 companies you work for have exactly the same customer, the same vendor, and all of them are researching the address, the text number, the legal name, the hierarchy, the contacts, and so on. So there's, from cross-corporate perspective, there's really redundant work. And if you see, I don't know, mechanical engineers in an automotive supplier company sitting in front of Google Maps to research if at a certain point on the map there is a Chinese company, right? Or is it wood, or is it a sea, or whatever, that's really annoying, and there is some need for action from my perspective. And that's the basic idea, to establish this data sharing, to enable companies to share these efforts of researching and correcting addresses, names, text numbers. So the very basic B2B information of companies, right? It's not about their patents. It's not about their commercial details, procurement conditions, things like this. It's only about addresses, text numbers, legal names, legal hierarchies, these very basic information. And this is what we want to share between the companies to, on the one hand, increase the data quality, right? If the one adds a text number, the others do not have to, they just have to check maybe, and then can just copy it. So increase data quality on the one hand, and on the other hand, reduce the efforts. So that's the very basic idea of data sharing. And maybe last point regarding this intro, our focus, as I said already, is on business partner data. There is also huge potential in the material and product domain. But for business partner data, you have the advantage that there is some kind of external truth in terms of trade registers, in terms of the existing company, right? It's not just a product where you have to register a number or something that you manage on your own, but the customer exists, he has an office, he has a registered address, so you can compare what you have in the data sharing companies against an external reference, and that simplifies, let's say, the governance and the operations of such a community approach.
If I may say, I think there, in every kind of data domain, whether it's parties, places, or things, there is some deals, it's GTINs or things like that. And for vendors, the same applies, like for B2B or B2C customers, as you say. So if I now run my business and I think I really know my customers super well, and I make them the most relevant, best offers in the world, why should I give up this, what I think is a competitive advantage, and share some of that with others?
Yeah, because you have, and also this, you only realize if you are good in this, because if not, you don't have these efforts, that you will realize that it's some kind of significant effort to keep all the knowledge of your global business up to date, right? I've seen very many companies who have these address catalogs and rule books for 80, 90, 200 countries regarding how to maintain a Chinese address, how to maintain a Japanese address, what is the relevant tax number in Croatia, is there a tax number in Saudi Arabia, and so on, right? The world is complex. There are more than 200 countries around. All these countries have their regulation, have their laws, have their standards. We have so far researched, I think, around 400 unique identifiers for companies around the world. And if you do not share these efforts, if you do not collaborate, you have to do this on your own. Of course, you could, but then you have to engage, I don't know, a team with 5 to 20 people to do this. And this effort you could reduce by collaborating with others. This is the very basic idea. And it depends, of course, how good you think you are. But I think from management perspective, you can imagine that there are also others doing a good job in global companies, and it's always worth to exchange, let's say on experience level, and maybe to go a level deeper and really exchange your data updates.
Yeah, good point. I'd say I've always seen that think that their self-evaluation regarding their data quality is much higher than reality, right? Absolutely. I think that is common in our industry. And yeah, then is probably the mindset to really accept that or really adopt and act towards that. So you've shared a few examples already. So when there is a certain examples of using it, but could we look at about, let's say, the certain use cases or industries or maybe countries who are adopting that? Because I would see many people would have some concerns around the data security around that. So where do you see people and companies or industries being open for adopting that now? Or where do you see, let's say, some hesitations these days?
Yeah. Maybe the first thing is that the data sharing we've talked so far about is, from our perspective, the latest and highest stage of data sharing. And that is important to understand. Data sharing is not only about really sharing effective data records or updates on customer and vendor records, but also about, we call it data knowledge. It might be a data quality tool, might be a data standard, might be a data model, how to integrate a certain data source. And from this requirement, right, which identifiers are relevant in my examples in Saudi Arabia or Croatia, and what has changed there? What is the format of a certain identifier? So there are very many rules and standards you have to collect and keep up to date. And that's the first step of sharing this knowledge. Might be in a workshop, might be in a talk like this, right? We have community talks where people can share experience. And next level is then to document it, to standardize it, to put it into some services that you can use. But on this level, and that's important from a customer or our client's perspective, this is just a service to validate a text number, to correct an address and so on. So there is not so much giving my data asset to others, right? It's just sharing knowledge, and there's someone like CDQ who derives a service from this. So that's the first and lowest level. And with this, we do not have really issues to convince someone that this makes sense, right? And when a company realizes that there is really significant less effort for them to maintain this, then they maybe start to go to next levels and really share maybe trusted data sources with others. In which country can I use which data source to get trusted data, commercial registers and so on? Which fields are relevant there? How good is the quality in these sources, right? This is already some kind of asset you have derived over years. But if you can benefit from this experience from other companies, you may be fine with giving this information to others as well. So that's the second level. And if this works fine, then you maybe start that you also want to get updates from one of the partners. You have realized that they are doing a good job by the first levels, and then you maybe want to participate from their effective data quality as well, and you're open to share yours as well. So this layered approach is, from our experience, really crucial to set this up.
I understand. And so how are you responding to, let's say, concerns on data security?
Yeah, so these data information security complex has from my experience three aspects, right? You have this IT compliance things, you have data privacy, and you have antitrust also in a federated approach like this. Regarding IT compliance, well, it's just from IT people, it's just a cloud service, right? You have to run through all these as a provider like us, run through these cloud assessments. There are certificates out there, standards. There's nothing specific to data sharing, right? It's just yeah, you have to do a good job in operations and software development, and you have to prove it. So that's not a big deal. It's just about operations and processes. The second aspect, the data privacy, is already some kind of complexer, because of course companies are not allowed to share any private information of the customer or vendor. What we've learned also from assessments with our clients is that companies which are registered in the B2B way are not covered by these data privacy things, right? If you can Google an address, a name, and something, there's no one who can claim an IP on this. And you are, of course, also allowed up to some degree to gather this data in a data pool. There are, of course, examples like a doctor, like a lawyer, like a single property company with just one person, where the personal name is really a significant part of the legal name, and that you can consider an address, which is a legal address, also as a private address. So it's a gray zone, let's say, from data privacy perspective. We have learned that also in these cases, if a company is registered from data privacy law, it's fine to also exchange such information. But on the other hand, I've learned that companies are handling this more restrictive. The important point here is it's up to our clients which records they share. So we are absolutely fine if they only put the clearly, according to their assessment, the clear B2B companies into the sharing approach. It's up to their decision. And we also provide services to screen their records and identify natural person records to support them in terms of technical and organizational measures for GDPR compliance. So we try to support them. It's their decision. And with this approach, we think we can comply also to this regulation. And just short answer regarding the third aspect I mentioned, antitrust. We have learned there, if this community is open for everyone, so we do not exclude a particular company, and that it's mainly about information that is publicly available, like the addresses, the names, the tax numbers, then it's no issue for antitrust. Right? So we are not sharing sensitive data in terms of procurement conditions, things that only the company could know, but it's about more integration, collecting, updating public information.
Got it. No, thank you. And I'm also looking a bit at the timing for today. If we look at the closing statement, if you would meet a CEO of a large enterprise, or what would you tell him why and how data sharing makes him successful?
Yeah, so from on CEO level, I think it's clear that you have to know your customers, know your vendors, right? It's this 360-degree concept. And to do this, you have to manage the data about these vendors and customer in a good way. And that's effort. I think it's clear to everyone today that this is effort. And data sharing provides a way to reduce this effort and to increase this customer and vendor knowledge on your side. Very simple. And you have to do it. It's just the way data management will work in 10 years. Then I'm really sure about. And the question is if you start today with it or wait 5 years.
No, excellent. I think that was to the point. Thank you, Kai, for that great conversation.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun.